Hi everybody, this is the presentation of the paper How Do Mobile Agents Benefit from Randomness by Pierre Fregnault, myself, from Université de Paris and CNRS, and this is an invited paper at SSS 2021. So, we all know, of course, that in the framework of distributed computing, randomization helps a lot. And for instance, in this case of two agents sitting in these two nodes, the situation is totally symmetric. So, of course, these two agents cannot elect one of them, let's say, as a leader. Election is impossible in this framework if the agents are deterministic. However, of course, if the agent have access to some source of randomness and they can flip coins, then election is possible, and not only that, it will be extremely fast. And so in this paper, our objective is to understand what not so much how randomization helps, but where does the randomness come from? And this study is motivated from the study of movement of animals and animal behavior in general. And of course, the movements of animals, we know that they are very well described by a randomized model, not only random walks, but more sophisticated kind of random walks like Levy walks, etc. And so the question that we ask in this paper is, this randomness, this access to random source, is it some kind of internal phenomenon? Are the insect or the animals able to flip coins in their mind and to produce some random variable? Or are they the effect of external sources? Like, for instance, in the case of this insect flying, could it be that it's a blow of wind that changed the course of the flight of this insect? So we want to try to address the question, can we determine somehow whether the randomness comes from internal phenomenon or from the outside? And we do this analysis in a very simple framework, the framework of search protocols. So let me describe in detail what I mean here by search protocol. Essentially, this is represented by this algorithm. So how does it work? So the agent, let's say in this case the ant, a little ant, is starting in some state S0, that's instruction 1, and at some position x0, that's instruction 2. And then the agent will repeat forever some loops of actions, of instruction. So let's say that the agent now is at some position x in some state S. And let's consider now one loop. So the first thing that will do the agent is at instruction 4. The agent will compute an action, A. This action is the result of some action function, alpha, that is applied, that depends on the current state of the agent, S, and the local position, the position of the agent, X. Actually, the action may not depend exactly on X, but may depend on the perception of the position by the agent. The agent may not know exactly where she is, but she may at least perceive something about the position, and this local perception of the position we denoted by rho. So rho of X is the local perception of the position by the agent. And then based on this local perception of the position and of local state, the agent compute an action A. So this action, for instance, in this figure could be turn right. That's the action that the agent wants to perform. Now, once this action has been computed, a movement is performed. And this movement depends on the action that was decided by the agent and of the position. And it is captured by a movement function, mu. So this action, mu A of an X, will result in a new position Y, where the agent will move. So there are two things here. One is what the agent wants to do, and for this the agent compute an action. And the second thing is the actual movement that is performed by the agent, and this movement is guided by this movement function mu. Then, when the agent is at its new position y, then it changes states, compute a new state, and this new state depends on its previous state s, and of the, again, the local perception of the new position y the agent is now sitting, and we denote by delta the state function. And then that's it. The agent now is in y, in a new position, in a new state, and will repeat the loop once more, compute a new action, then a movement is performed, the state is changed, and so on and so forth. And what we will focus on in this paper and in this presentation is really these two functions, the function alpha and the function mu. The function alpha, again, this is the action function, what type of action the agent wants to do. And the function mu is the actual movement which is performed, and this movement depends on the action that was computed by the agent. And we will study the case where these actions, function and movement function are deterministic or randomized. And we will compare the power of these different frameworks. So our setting is as follows. We have some environment, which is described by a finite set of position, capital X, an initial position, x0, a set of possible action, A, and the movement function mu. And then we have an agent, and the agent is described by some finite set of states, an initial state S0, the function rho, which is the perception function of the local position, the action function alpha, and the transition function delta that enabled the agent to change state. And our goal will be to compare deterministic agent, which means that the action function will be deterministic, and assuming that they are running in some probabilistic environment, so the movement function will be randomized. So we compare deterministic agent in probabilistic environment with randomized agent, which means that the action function will be randomized, but traveling in a deterministic environment, which is the movement function will be deterministic. So slightly more precisely, the randomization is captured in two forms. Either it's a randomized agent, in which case the action function alpha, which we denote now alpha round to indicate that it's randomized, alpha round is randomized, the action function is randomized. Or we have also the setting in which the movements are randomized, which is we have probabilistic perturbation of the movement. So what is a probabilistic perturbation is that we have the function mu, which is now denoted mu rand to really enforce that it is randomized, depend on the action A and an action A and a position X. It's a random variable over the set of mu of Bx, same position X, but all type of action B. So it could be you decide to turn right, but instead of turning right, maybe you will turn just 45 degrees or just 20 degrees, or maybe just 90 degrees to the right. All right. So we will perform two types of analysis, fine-grained analysis and coarse-grained analysis. So let's do first with the fine-grained analysis. So we will focus on this quantity in red here, which is the probability to reach the position y, given that the agent is in state S at position X, and assuming the action function alpha and the movement function mu. So of course, if alpha and mu are both deterministic, this probability is 1 for a single y and 0 otherwise. But other than that, it's a distribution over the positions. And this actually distribution could depend on both alpha and mu if both alpha and mu are randomized. So we focus on this. The probability to reach position Y, given the fact that the agent is in state S at position X. By this, I'm talking about one movement, not reaching position Y eventually. I'm talking about the agent is at position X in state S. Where will it be? Where will she be after one step? After one, so the action function, the action is computed, the movement is computed, resulting in a new position Y, and this is a probability distribution over this new position Y. Okay, so our first result is an indistinguishability result. So this result goes as follows. So let's take some environment. So again, described by this four tuple, position, initial position, set of position, initial position, set of action, and movement function. The movement function is deterministic. Let's consider one agent A, which is deterministic. So the action function alpha is deterministic, so it's denoted alpha det. And now the theorem goes as follows. It says that for every perturbation, for every probabilistic perturbation mu rand of mu det, there exists a randomized agent, alpha A prime, which is exactly the same as A. A prime is almost identical to A, except that the action function is not anymore deterministic, it's randomized. So for every probabilistic perturbation mu rand of mu det, there exists such a randomized agent, A prime, such that for all pair of position and for all state, the probability distribution of the new position Y, given that the agent is in state S at position X, is the same if you run the randomized agent with the deterministic movement function, or then it's equal to the distribution if you run the deterministic agent in with a movement function which is randomized. Which is to say that every probabilistic distribution perturbation of the movement function can actually be simulated by a randomized agent. So it may always be, if you have some probabilistic perturbation, it may actually be not the result of a probabilistic perturbation, but just the result of a randomized agent. So in this direction, the situation is pretty clear. It's impossible to really to say that there is an effect of some random effect due to a perturbation of the movement, because this random effect could also be produced by a randomized agent. The second indistinguishability result is a kind of reciprocal on this result. Again, we take a deterministic non-environment with a function mu det, but now we take a randomized agent. So the question is, can we now simulate the movement of the randomized agent by a deterministic agent? And the answer is yes. It's yes, but under some condition. And these conditions say that if the cardinality of the state, the set of state of the agent, is at most the cardinality of the set of actions, then there exists a deterministic agent, which is A prime, which is exactly the same as A, but the action function is deterministic, and a probabilistic perturbation mu rand of mu det, such that, again, the two probability distributions are identical, which is to say that if we have this condition that the cardinality of sigma is at most the cardinality of A, then the action of a randomized agent could as well be the result of a probabilistic perturbation of the movement function. The two things are totally, you cannot distinguish the two things. So essentially these two results are kind of negative results in the sense that we cannot distinguish the two effects of probabilistic perturbation of the movement or randomized agent. However, it's only under for theorem 2 under the condition that sigma is at most the size of A. So the question is, what about the case where the set of state, the cardinality of the set of state, is larger than the cardinality of the set of action, and in particular when it is just A plus 1, for instance. So for this, we can distinguish. That's the interesting case, that in this case we can really tell whether the agent is randomized or not. Okay, so how does it go? In this case, we can even perform a coarse grain analysis. And this coarse grain analysis goes as follows. So again, we consider some environment, deterministic, with a deterministic movement function. And in this environment, we assume that there exists a unique position y, such that if you apply mu det to ay, the agent will stay at y again. For every action a of the agent, the movement function will keep the agent at the same position y. So really y is a finite position. Once you are at y, the agent is caught and cannot move from y. On the other hand, y is reachable from every position. That's the second bullet that says for every position x, there exists a sequence of position, v1 with vk, such that v1 is x, vk is y, and for every intermediate position vi, then there exists an action ai such that va plus 1, when you are at vi and you apply action ai, then the movement function will lead you at position vi plus 1. So we have this kind of a sink y that you can go to y is reachable from every position. And what we are interested in is to compute this random variable, which is t alpha mu, which is a number of positions that the agent will traverse when the agent is governed by this action function alpha in an environment where the movement function is mu, when it travels from x0 to y. That's the quantity we are interested in, and that's a random variable because the action function alpha and the movement function mu may be randomized. And we will focus simply on the expected value of this random variable, which is e of t alpha mu. And the theorem, the third result of the paper, is a theorem that enables to distinguish randomness caused by the agent itself, internal, or caused by the by external phenomenon. So what does it say, this theorem? It says that for every epsilon, as small as you want, for every epsilon, and for every k, there exists such an environment, a root-n environment, so with such a position y that we talked about in the previous slide, and where the set of action has cardinality k, and the size of x is roughly k. It's not exactly k, but it's almost k. It's k log k plus log over 1 over epsilon, so an environment where the set of position is pretty close to the number of actions. And then there exists a randomized agent A, which depends on some randomized action function, and where the number of states is k plus 1, just one more than the number of actions, and such that for every perturbation, whatever is the randomized perturbation, probabilistic perturbation of mu det, for every deterministic agent, the randomized agent will always go to y much, much faster than the deterministic agent, even if this deterministic agent is helped by randomized, by a probabilistic perturbation of the movement. So the randomized agent will always be more efficient than a deterministic agent, whatever is the probabilistic perturbation of the movement. There are things that can only be done internally by the agent. It will be epsilon times, so we think about epsilon as 1 over 100, it will be 100 times faster than what can do a deterministic agent, which means that you can detect it, you can really see it, you can observe it. So, in summary, we studied the relative power of deterministic agents subject to probabilistic perturbation of their movement versus randomized agent moving in deterministic environment. And we have established a sharp threshold, which is if the number of states is at most the number of actions, then randomized agent can be simulated by probabilistic perturbation of movement. But if the number of states is just equal to a number of action plus 1, then there exists an environment in which a randomized agent outperforms any deterministic agent, even if the latter is helped by probabilistic perturbation of its movement. And of course, this paper is just scratching the question. I mean, it was just very preliminary and very basic result. And there are hundreds of open problems. So for instance, for distinguishability, what if the deterministic and randomized agent under scrutiny, what if they are given different transition function? Here I insist on the same transition function, same state, same transition function. What happens if they have different transition function? What about the case of randomized transition function? Here the transition function is deterministic. Does it help to have randomized transition function in the setting of search protocol in this paper? And if it helps, how much it helps? What about group also of cooperating agent? Here I study just the case of one agent traveling from one source to a target. But what about group of agents? And there are tons of other open problems that could be studied in the framework of this paper. And my aim here was mostly to introduce a framework in which we could study the effect of external randomization, external randomness versus internal randomness. And with this, I conclude, and I thank you very much for your attention.